What's up, everyone? It's Canaan, and welcome back, finally, to What If Yang Was a Saiyan. I believe this is episode 13. So sorry this took so long to come out. It's just work has been really rough recently, working 5 days a week, 9 hours a day. There are some nights where I'm just so tired that even if it is a recording night, I just want to come home, relax, turn on Crunchyroll, and watch some anime with Jess, which we have been enjoying since getting Crunchyroll to watch RWBY Volume 9. Um, if you hear noises in the back, Alfie is in the room with us, so if you hear him meowing or moving around, it's because Jess is trying to keep him entertained while I record. But yeah, once again, sorry that this took so long to come out. I've actually had the story kind of pretty much plotted out for a while. But as I've said in other videos, eventually I probably will put this series on an extended hiatus because I'll have to wait for RWBY, the show, to keep going to see where we go from there. Because I don't want to try and come up with an all original story after the events in Atlas, because that would take me even longer to come out with anyway. So once we get till about the Volume 9 story, of course, it'll have to wait until Volume 10 comes out before this series will start. So look at that as one of the biggest reasons why episodes are not weekly anymore, and that they might be a little bit longer in between. Also, ever since losing my good computer that we were using for the channel, did kind of take the wind out of my sails a little bit as far as getting recording and stuff all that done, just because there's so much stuff I can't do now because we're using older equipment. Now, the PS3 can be used on this computer, it's just that it takes forever to set up. The SNES Classic works on it. I've not tested the Switch, but the PS5 definitely does not work. It freezes, and it causes other things to malfunction, so I'm either going to get my computer back, or I'm just going to save up and get a PC, like an actual rig and all that. But yeah, just wanted to go over that real quick. But on a bright note, it is RWBY season. RWBY Volume 9 is 2 chapters in. This video should be up on Friday. Then, of course, our reaction to Chapter 2 will be up on Saturday. And then, of course, the analysis of Chapter 3 will be up either on Monday or Tuesday, depending on mine and Jess's work schedule. So don't know how long this one will be. It's late. It's actually past 3 a.m. I was very tired when I got home, so me and Jess took a nap. And it's thundering and lightning and raining outside. Actually kind of feels more like the atmosphere I would have for a spooky video other than a RWBY What If. But like I said, it's RWBY season. I wanted to do a RWBY themed video. And a few people have told me that they really enjoy this series, and that's very humbling, because I really didn't think many people would enjoy this, as I'm kind of going off the cuff every episode. A few of them I did have pre-planned, but like I said, with my work schedule and all that, sometimes I just don't have time to sit down and plan it all out, and so I really just sit here and go with it, really. So thank you all for who enjoy this. RWBY and Dragon Ball are, of course, 2 of my all-time favorite shows, and so with her semblance being so much like a Super Saiyan, I thought this would be great to do. So last episode, we kind of started off the Team BRIR saga, if you want to call it, kind of a break in between the events, pretty much kind of the events of Volume 7 and before the events of Volume 8. Just to do kind of like a special, what many would call an OVA series, or maybe it could be considered a movie that would happen in between story arcs. Um, so yeah, this is Yang going head to head with Team BRIR, who have been turned into androids by Watts. Now, of course, Watts was able to escape after the events of Volume 7, after Cinder successfully did get the Winter Maiden powers, because I'm really wanting to build up Cinder as more of a threat, even though she did kind of establish herself as a threat at the end of Volume 8. I want her to be a bigger threat. I want her to come close to matching Salem as a threat. Because remember, in this version, Salem is not immortal. She's just very, very, very OP. So yeah. So at the end of last episode, Yang had successfully defeated Roani, but the rest of Team BRIR had saved her, and they went back to Watts, and of course he was not very happy at Roani failing, but also at Team BRIR running away. So he deactivated them, put them back into their pods, and now is going to reprogram them to pretty much not care if they live or die, just as long as they can kill Yang. Now, the rest of Team BRIR, Bianca, Ruda, I believe her name is, and Ivy are put back into their respective pods to be reprogrammed. Roani, however, was damaged during her fight with Yang, so instead of reprogramming her right now, Watts puts her in a repair pod to repair her first before he reactivates her. Or, you know, does his changes and then reactivates her. So, of course, Yang returns back to base, tells everyone what happened. They've got new androids to worry about. Now, of course, the surviving Aesop androids, which are just like in the show, Marrow, Elm, and Harriet. Vine eventually did not survive his injuries at the end of Volume 7. They asked them, did you all know that there were new androids? And Harriet swears up and down that no, there was no other androids that they were told of. Of course, they did hear about Project Arrowfail, which was apparently the project that Ironwood was teasing before he chose Project Aesop's, which led to them. Ironwood thought that they would be easier to control than a team of huntresses or huntsmen that would be turned into androids. We do learn from them as well that Ironwood kind of had a sickening plan to maybe turn Winter into an android, but since she turned on him, that never came to pass. So, since they're androids and Yang has no way to sense their power, she pretty much has to wait until they make their next move, which she's not happy about, but what can she do? There's only so much, they're like Atlas and Solitus and all that is such a big area. She could spend forever and not be able to find them. And so Yang does what Yang does best. She continues training, because if somehow these androids are able to get stronger very quickly, and we did learn from Dragon Ball Super with androids 17 and 18 that androids are able to train and get stronger. And so she wants to be prepared. Now, little does she know, Ruby, Weiss, Blake, and the others have also been training, and of course, some of them have evolved their semblances. You know, just like in the show, Ren's can do what it does, and Ruby can now, even though she's done it before, she's getting more proficient on actually splitting while using her semblance. Blake has also evolved hers, but we'll get to that in a sec. So, some time does go by, because it doesn't take him long, maybe a couple of days, to reprogram Bianca, Ruda, and Ivy. Now, he awakens them first. And of course, there's already a difference. They're colder. There's not as much emotion anymore. And he asks them, what is your mission? And of course, it's to kill Yang. But little does Watts know that reprogramming them the way he did has pretty much spelled the end for him. With his back turned, the girls grab the control and destroy it, and it's pretty much Android 17 and 18 turning on Dr. Gero. They quickly destroy that, and they kill him. They kill Watts very gruesomely because, unlike Dr. Gero in the past timeline where he had become an android, Watts is still a human being, so it's not it's a little bit messier than with Dr. Gero. So yeah, it's not a pretty picture of what they do to him. Now the three of them look at Rwani, and with their new personalities and new programming, they see her as a failure. She failed to defeat Yang. So they leave the hideout, and all three of them blast the place. They're hovering over the mountains, and they just start throwing energy attacks at it to destroy the lab, to get rid of Watts completely, to get rid of Rwani. Everything is, swapped under the rug. So they come up with a plan. Bianca is going to go back to Fort Arafel for some reason, while Ruda and Ivy are going to go to Mantle and Atlas, and they are going to draw Yang out, with the plan to kill her. So the two go one way, Bianca goes the other. Now, of course, RWBY and the others hear and feel the explosion, because it was a pretty big explosion, coming from three very powerful androids. And so they want to go check it out. Now, of course, Yang wants to go as well, but news travels very quickly that a pair of young women are attacking a supply train that is coming from one of the dust mines to bring dust for Mantle and Atlas. Because remember, with Ironwood gone and the chaos that insinuated with his downfall, Atlas and Mantle are still barely hanging on. Robin and Winter are doing the best they can, but things are not looking well. And so RWBY, still technically being the leader of Team RWBY, decides that her and the others, meaning her, Weiss, Blake, Penny, Ren, John, and Nora, will go check out the explosion, while Yang goes and takes care of the train. Well, Blake is not happy with this. She wants to go with Yang. Yang, of course, says no, it's dangerous, but Blake gets a little mad, saying, I'm a huntress. I've been training hard every day. I've gotten stronger. You used to look at me as an equal. Now you're looking at me as someone to leave behind, which Yang does not intend to. She's just being super protective because of what's been going on. But Blake gets through to Yang. Yang agrees to take her with her. Now, what has Blake done that has made her stronger? Well, originally I had toyed with the idea that Blake and the others may have unlocked key energy, but it kind of led to where it would have led to me focusing on way too many characters at once, instead of mostly focusing on Yang, because in this timeline, it's her story. But thankfully, RWBY Arafel gave me the idea. Now, I may be misremembering, but in the show, Blake's semblance shadow is mostly used as a decoy, in a way. Now, if I remember correctly, I don't know if Blake has ever made more than one shadow clone all at once. I know she's made one, it disappear, and then make another one, but I don't know if we've ever seen her make multiples all at once. Also, I don't remember ever seeing one of her shadow clones actually being able to attack at will. But in RWBY Arafel, once you level up her semblance, she can make more than one clone, and it's mostly there to solve puzzles and to also double your attack on opponents when you're using Blake. But also, but yeah, like you can make more than one, and plus they attack on their own. Now, of course, they attack when Blake does, but still. So it gave me the idea that she has done that in this. She has evolved her semblance to pretty much where she can make multiple clones of herself that can attack at will, kind of like Tien's multiform technique. Now, I'm going to use the same rules from Dragon Ball in that the more clones Blake uses, the weaker they are, in turn making her aura a bit more weaker. So anyway, Ruby and the others go to the mountains where the explosion was. Yang and Blake head for the train. Now we're going to focus on Ruby and them for a little bit. So it does not take that, well, it doesn't take Penny long to get where it is since Penny can fly, just like Yang, with the others who can't fly. It takes them a little bit longer than Penny to get there, but Penny already scouts the area, and yeah, they can definitely tell it's the remnants of a hidden laboratory. Team BRIR may have mostly destroyed it, but they didn't destroy it well enough. Now, of course, once they're looking around, they're trying to find ways that I could get information. This is obviously where the androids came from. But they soon realize that they need a little bit more help on deciding what is what. So, of course, Penny flies back, gets her father, flies him over to the mountains so he can help them look through it. And of course, most of it's destroyed, so there's no like records or anything that he can find on a computer console or anything. He does find what's left of Watts' body. And that is when he is shocked to find that Rwani's pod is intact. It wasn't destroyed. Some falling debris landed on it, but that's what protected it from being fully destroyed. He sees that she is being repaired. She's still being repaired. She's not been reprogrammed. And so it's a risk, but they're toying with the idea of taking her back. Maybe they can learn something. Maybe they can, there's obviously a reason why they left her behind. But it's during all this that Weiss actually stumbles on a hatch that leads to an underground lab. But it's sealed shut. But, they're huntresses and huntsmen. Quick swap of a weapon, they break the lock, and they go down, and they find another chamber that houses another more powerful android, but they don't know who that is yet. So Penny flies the pod back to headquarters because she is her father's daughter, so she knows all the things that she needs to get the pod open and all that. Pietro decides to stay behind to, find out who this android is. But of course, Ruby and them are not going to leave him there by himself. So Jean, Ren, and Nora decide to stay while Ruby and Weiss decide to go back with Penny. Now, Yang and Blake arrive at the train. Yang's carrying Blake while she's flying. Blake does make the little flirty comment that, normally this would be kind of romantic. But since we're going into a fight, kind of less so, which Yang just chuckles at. Sadly, they do find the train has been completely derailed, so these are supplies that Mantle and Atlas sorely need, but are now going to be delayed because of this. Blake quickly uses her scroll to let Ruby and the others know that the train's been derailed so they can let Robin and Winter know. But while investigating, they do find some dead guards, so the members of Team BRIR that did attack it did not show the soldiers or anyone on the train any mercy. All of them are dead. So, of course, Ivy and Ruda are watching from the shadows because Yang cannot sense them, and they want to come up with a battle plan to just put Yang and Blake out of their miseries quickly. Now, if I remember correctly, Ivy's semblance is pretty much being able to create multiple portals that she can use her whip with. So a portal can, show up beside you, the whip can then hit you, another one will appear and it'll hit you again. It's kind of in a way like Raven's semblance, where she can open portals and all that, but it's mostly to use her weapon in multiple directions. Ruda pretty much uses her drills to burrow, pretty much, which this version being an android, the drills are pretty much her hands now. So they decide to pretty much ambush them. Ruda will dig underneath and come up at them, while Ivy attacks them from above using her portals. It's a pretty sound plan, except when she starts burrowing, Ruda is not as quiet as she could have been. So, of course, Blake hears her. Blake's ears, do this. And she quickly screams at Yang to watch out. Yang quickly understands what's going on, and so she just blasts the ground underneath them, which forces Ruda out. Their trap fails. So I noticed when playing Aerofail that each member of Team BRIR was pitted against a separate member of RWBY. Now, of course, in my playthrough, I mostly soloed the game as Yang, but if I remember correctly, it's RWBY is strong against Bianca, Weiss is strong against Rowani, Blake is strong against Ivy, and Yang is strong against Ruda. Now, they may not be strong against them, but that's who they were paired up with. That's who they worked against the best in their boss fight. So Ivy does attack Blake. And at first, Ivy thinks this is going to be an easy win, but she quickly learns that this Faunus is definitely stronger than she thought. Now, of course, her still being an android, she definitely has the edge. That is until Blake decides to use her semblance, and next thing Ivy knows is she is surrounded by Blake and all these shadow Blakes. But Ivy's semblance gives her kind of an edge on this because she can create multiple portals to use her whip. But if I remember correctly, if you would think, she would probably have to stay still for this. You would think. So I'm going to twist it a little here and say that yes, she has to stay in one spot to use her semblance to go all these different directions. So even though her whip would be able to hit the shadow clones, it leaves her vulnerable to be attacked by Blake herself. Now, with Yang and Ruda, it's definitely a fist-to-fist fight. Yang quickly powers up to Super Saiyan, and even having drills as hands, the drills are doing nothing. Even if they're straight up going fist-to-fist with Yang's fists, Yang is not being hurt by it at all. And so, Ruda is already at a disadvantage. And sadly, we didn't learn a whole lot about Team BRIR in the game. They're barely in the game. So we don't really know who is the strongest physically, because it's very obvious in RWBY that Yang is the most strongest physically. She's the tank. Now, for this story, I'm going to say strength-wise, just pure brute strength, Ruda is the strongest, where Bianca may be the strongest all around. Now, Blake is doing well against Ivy, but Ivy's speed and unlimited power, and the fact that Blake is trying to fight her just to put her down, pretty much, like not kill her, but like subdue her, Ivy is fighting to kill. And so she quickly gets the upper hand on Blake, wraps her whip around one of Blake's feet, and just starts swinging her around, slamming her all over the place. Yang notices this and gets worried, but there's no way she can get to Blake without going through Ruda. So Yang says, I've got to do something or Blake's going to get hurt or killed, either one, because she needs me. And so Yang quickly powers up. She gets angry enough and just plows through Ruda, knocks her completely out. But by the time she gets over to Blake, Blake has actually regained control of the fight, and Yang just stops. And she decides just to watch the fight. Let Blake fight her battle. Now, I'm not saying Ivy is weak, but since we didn't learn very much about Team BRIR in the game, it's really hard to really say how skilled she is. She kind of came off as more of a jokester in a way, like she made fun of Team RWBY in the first meeting they had. So, I guess for the sake of this, we may call her the weakest. But that's not saying a bad thing on Blake. I'm not saying that the only reason why Blake's able to keep up in this fight is because Ivy is the weakest, but it's just because Ivy is one of the ones we don't know much about. Well, really, we don't know much about any of them. But Blake is actually able to get Ivy's whip and actually uses Gamble Shroud and the whip dual wielding against her, and is actually able to tie her up using her ribbon and her own whip. She tries to break out of it, and Blake and Yang both give her a solid hit to both sides of the face, knocks her out. So that is 2 members of Team BRIR subdued. There's still Bianca and that mystery android that is in the underground bunker, and it's very, very soon that Pietro learns who it is, and it is an android version of the main villain of RWBY Arafel, and that is Bram Thormain. Yes, he has been made into a android, and that is where the evil Pokeballs that I call them, that is where they are from. That is why Watts created them in this timeline. Not only did they breed negative emotions to get the Grimm, when Grimm were attacking people or fighting huntsmen and huntresses, they were also gathering energy to put into Thormain, making him the strongest android that Watts ever created. But he also gave Thormain a very different skill that makes him way more of a danger than Tyrion would ever be. And that is the ability to pretty much steal Team BRIR's power and turn him into what Watts called a super android. What does all that mean? Well, you'll have to wait till the next episode. Sorry if the fight was not as action-packed as it could have been, but it's actually kind of hard coming up with a fight between 4 people. What will Yang and Blake do with Ruda and Ivy? We'll have to know. What will Rwani think when she wakes up? Who's to say? Hopefully I'll be able to tie up this story arc the next episode, but we'll see. It depends on what I come up with between now and then. But as always, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it delivered for the people who look forward to it. As always, guys, this is Cannan. Me and Jess love you all very, very much. Stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.